What's up, everybody? You're listening to episode 269.
269.
69.
Nice.
Of the weekly InSalt. My name is Wade. As usual, I'm here with co-host Laura.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, Wade. How you?
I'm hanging in there. You
Yeah,
know,
me
I
too.
think the spring's been a little bit rough, but that's
has
okay.
been.
I
Yeah.
think, we've gone through a lot of shit in the last few years, and I think that's just part of the game now. And I'm also joined by sound engineer Kurt.
How are you?
Hey, man, how you been
VP
doing?
of Sound.
Doing well.
VP of Sound, yeah. And then a guest that was on our show exactly 100 episodes ago.
Wow.
I think he's now going to be the guest that just shows up every time our episode ends in 69.
I like it.
And he always has a different name, but he's always the same guy. Introducing my dear friend, Yams Pinkle.
Yams.
Hey.
What's up, man?
Not much.
Last time you were on the show, you're pretty rough, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like we all had a rough morning, That happens. That happens from time to time.
Little bit better shape this time.
You one thing, just to start it off, if you guys want to go back and listen to episode 169, you'll know a little bit.
69.
Huh?
69. Or no, you're right.
Yeah,
169.
100 episodes
Shit,
ago.
where the fuck am I at?
Don't know.
Yeah, episode 169. People will understand that you do piercings for a living, and you've seen a lot of tits.
Well,
That's okay.
Not mine, though.
I've seen a lot of dicks, too.
And you've seen a lot of
Well, I don't know. No.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think one of your more notorious ones was piercing somebody's belly button on the back of a truck bed.
Yeah, I was there for
crazy.
that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah,
That's a good story.
No,
It is.
we're not talking about that.
Yeah, we won't go through the details of that. But how's business been going, man? Like, it seems like there's always a market for people that want to get more piercings. It seems like you're
for
never like have a shortage of work. Is it busy right now?
Yeah, everything's always up and down. I think I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, we'll go through a few slow weeks. Not completely dead, but then it'll just be slammed. I don't know if it's just the time of the year. Every year is completely sporadic too,
Yeah.
But
piercing doesn't have a season.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
sort of. Everybody wants to get their work done in the summer for some reason.
Yeah.
When it's like, you can't go swimming, you can't go in
But maybe that's the best time to show off a piercing. you know?
that's what they
Yeah.
want to do, is show off their piercings and tattoos. And I'm like, no, come in the winter. Like, get work done in the winter. You're not doing anything.
Heal
yeah.
first.
Yeah. But no, everything's been pretty good. I think the recession's hitting everybody a little bit right now.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
a lot of people trying to bargain shop and whatnot, but
Yeah, James was telling me his books are pretty open right now, too. He said it's kind of a weird,
Yeah.
slow time.
Yeah, we've had a few artists that like
Because you work at a tattoo shop as well. If people don't know, to the
Yeah.
listener, and James is one of your coworkers. I think
Yes,
is fair to say.
And my tattoo guy.
Yeah, and you're a tattoo guy. Yeah, you're getting a huge piece done on your leg right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a future guest, isn't
Yeah,
He
I think
is,
he's.
yeah.
I think have we booked him?
Yeah.
we booked him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Confirmed date. Yep.
cool.
he? Sweet.
I think speaking of like healing and things like that, do you run into a lot of problems with people that like get a piercing and then they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on with it, or it just it's just general,
That's
natural.
common. That
Yeah.
happens all the time. I think the worst part is having people lie to you and they're like, no, I've been doing exactly what I'm supposed to, and then
It's infected.
you're kind of you're going down the list like, what have you been doing? Have you been doing this and doing this? And then I did some microdermal implants on a lady's chest, and this was years ago.
This is the piercing where it's just like a stud.
Yeah,
into your
essentially,
chest?
yeah. There's like a little base plate that's implanted in your skin, and then you have rivets that come out so you can screw a little jewel on it.
Yeah.
I did a bunch of dermals on her cleavage line, or just above it, I should say, on her chest. And she came in about a week or two later, and her skin was turning black.
Oh, geez.
And I was like, okay, like, you need to go to the doctor, you need to get on some antibiotics, and we have to remove these. Like, they're coming out right now.
I bet that was painful.
Yeah. So I had to go down the checklist. I'm like, what have you been doing? And she's like, nothing. I've been doing exactly what you told me. So we get into my booth, and I get her on the table, cleaning her up, getting ready to remove these implants. And the second I wipe her skin, my cloth is orange.
Oh, shit.
Fake tan.
Yeah, and I'm like, so you go spray tanning? And she's like, yeah, 3 times a week. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, you're not supposed to do this, lady.
I guess I could, because I didn't put that together, where you're going in the story. I guess I could see people like, well, I just got the piercing, but I have my routine of doing like my spray tan or, other things that you normally don't think would affect something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that, like you said, I think that's very common. People, I think, would like to have the piercings, and then when they get them, they realize that it's just like anything else you do to your body. You got to maintain that that. Like you get a tattoo, Laura.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you done you've done so much to maintain your tattoo. There's
Absolutely.
like second skin.
Yep.
Do you make sure to keep it clean?
Clean, second skin. Make sure I put suntan lotion or screen on it. So
Yeah,
keep
during
it
the
out of
summer.
the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really important to keep longevity in your tattoos is to keep them out of the sun and
Yeah.
SPF all the time.
Yeah. I think that's just a good rule anyway.
Oh, yeah,
You
for
probably
sure.
should just be putting on sunscreen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even just like lotion, really good lotion and hydration before you get a tattoo.
Yeah.
It's super
Do you have a
important.
story of like the weirdest piercing? Like somebody's like, I want my Achilles tendon pierced.
No,
I don't know.
did have a girl that wanted microdermal implants on her shins.
Oh my God.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
There's not
Sorry,
enough tissue there, right?
bud. No, there's definitely tissue. So you could go to the side of the bone, I guess. I don't know, but
Yeah, I
that's
guess.
not something I would ever do on
Yeah.
somebody. Like that's just completely impractical. And,
Yeah, it just means that it's making because if you do that piercing, then you're the one liable for it. You know?
yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like, I'm
well,
not gonna.
I mean, they signed the paper, so.
well, sure, but I mean, you're still not gonna let anybody get something that's bad for them.
No.
Yeah.
And I, it's like a weekly thing where I have to talk somebody out of doing something weird or crazy, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, look, no's don't make me money. Like I'm trying to tell you something that's in your benefit. It's to your best interest. And
Yeah.
some people are really appreciative and get it, and other people want to scream at me in the lobby. So,
Oh, sure.
yeah.
And
Goes either way.
You deal with all the same people that anybody else in a environment,
Oh,
like
yeah.
a retail environment. I wouldn't call it retail, but in that customer service environment would deal with.
Most definitely. I don't know what happened. I mean, like when the pandemic happened and we had like businesses shut down in 2020, when everything reopened, I don't know what the hell happened to people's brains, but the
Yeah.
entitlement just came out of nowhere, and people screaming at you and basically Karens just erupting everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
I think they were cooped up too long.
Yeah.
And they had
yeah.
disposable income to spend.
You know, I think that really was something that changed during that time where sitting at home during that quarantine, you had nothing but free time, you know,
Yeah.
and then you can turn to things like the internet or news or whatever and get really polarized on things that you don't really need to have a really extreme opinion about,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And especially when people start researching something and diving really deep, then you have that sense of well, I know more than you. And
Oh,
so they
yeah.
want to prove
Yeah.
you wrong, you know, which is the way people are. It's the
I
world
read
we
it on
live in.
Google, man.
Yeah, I mean, and Google never lies.
It never
about anything.
lies.
Yeah, it's it's basically all Wikipedia.
Yeah. Life's Wikipedia.
One thing I know that you have been doing lately too, and we've talked about this before, is that you've been kind of looking at the housing market in Utah.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know, you've
yeah.
been. I think it's probably a really hard time right now to buy a house, but I've heard that things have been dropping, and we've mentioned on the show, Laura,
Yeah,
you're building.
I'm
your
building.
new
I'm
house.
a little bit worried, but I'm building.
Yeah.
I think prices are still staying pretty high. Interest
Yeah.
is going up and down.
They
Right.
are. Yeah. The interest, as soon as the interest goes down, it'll be like a week later, it's way back up again.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know.
What is the interest rate right now on that?
I don't know. I
Something
think it's
like that?
5.5 for a fixed.
Oh, okay.
Prime rate just went up
No.
this week by another quarter. So
Not too crazy then.
yeah.
What have you noticed about the valley as you've been looking around? Is everything just getting eaten up real quick?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous when I see somewhere that's 700 square feet and it's going for over $400,000.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's completely insane. And if we would have bought a couple years ago, we'd be great right now. But I have friends that purchased in the last few years, and they're paying $180,000, $230,000,
Yeah.
$280,000, and have nice homes. And now even something half the size of what they have is
More than what they
More
More-
than
and,
double
and it
of-
needs work.
Looks like the
Yeah.
rate today is 5.25.
It's 5.25.
5.25.
Yeah. So mortgage rates are coming down slightly. It's prime that's going up, and some of the other rates. So
What's the difference between a mortgage interest rate and prime?
so
What's
prime so prime is a variable rate. If
Okay.
you get a revolving line of credit, a credit card, they're all based on prime rate. So
yeah. That's crazy that you can, take out a loan on just this number, and then your interest rate can just change.
Yeah.
My student loans were like that, and it was really, really difficult to pay those down until I had equity. And
Yeah.
I finally,
Yeah.
I just moved them over to somewhere where they will eventually be paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the crazy thing too, is the world these days, I think is kind of designed. It's weird because growing up, you think really short term. You're like, I need to get a job and I need to pay my immediate bills or rent or whatever. Once you buy a house, the world kind of changes into this equity game and leveraging that money from just having your property sitting there. And when you don't have that, I think the older you get, that just gets harder.
Yeah.
You know, I think that it, especially like in your situation, it's like if something horrible were to happen, like you just have to go out and work extra hard to save money or to pay things off. You know?
Yeah.
Today's current prime rate is 8.25.
Yeah, it went up last week.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another.
The feds meet every quarter.
Every quarter.
Every
Feds?
quarter. Yeah.
When you say feds, like the Federal Reserve?
Yeah. And they're the
about
ones
as
that.
federal as Federal Express.
That laugh that you had was such a like, oh, Kurt.
Yeah, I had to.
I know.
You had to let that one out.
Yeah, we looked at a house not too long ago that was over in our neighborhood, just down the road, closer to the freeway, but it looked pretty affordable. It was like a corner lot. It looked cool. And then when the wife went to check it out, one of them reeked of cat urine, and
Gross.
there was still like animal feces everywhere all over the house. And then the other one was just covered in black mold.
And how much did they want for those?
I don't remember. They were like pretty close to 3 or 3.5, somewhere around there.
That's insane.
It is insane.
That's crazy to pay that much to go, because you're already just paying that for the house. And let's say you got that house.
Yeah.
How much money do you have to dump into it afterwards to clean it all up and to make it livable?
Mm-hmm.
Those houses probably should be torn down.
Yeah.
Well, they've been there for freaking hell a long time.
Yeah. Originally, so the street that they're on, the houses were being torn down because UDOT was going to expand because they're right up against the freeway barricade.
Yeah.
And then they stopped. They weren't going to expand, and so there was a couple houses left that UDOT still owns, and that's what these houses were. And they're like, "Yep, give us cash or get out." You know?
Yeah. And I think I've heard a lot of people that have been looking for houses too. Excuse me. They get outbid by people with cash offers. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
And there's a ton
yes.
of those businesses.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, call this number and we'll give you a cash offer now. So if you're really in like a dire strait, you can get out of your house with a lowballed cash offer, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
And then they're just going to turn around and flip it or rent it. Or,
and they're going to make their money. That's how
Yeah.
those things work. And that's not a scam, I guess, but I guess it's like preying on people in a bad
Yeah.
situation.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some morals behind that.
Yeah, there is.
Like, are you going to take away somebody's house just to get your quick buck?
I mean, part of it was, we got a lot of people that were relocating from California, and they, out there, they're selling a 3-bedroom Rambler for anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million, and then coming out here with cash and getting 10 times the house for a quarter of the price.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then, they have all this cash, so all they have to do is put in a cash offer and then bid 50 to 100 grand over, and and people are eating it up. I think what's crazy is the apartments too right now. Like all these high-rise apartments are going everywhere, and it's supposed to be affordable housing, but when you have 1 and 2 bedrooms going for over $2 grand,
Yeah,
a
that's
month,
crazy.
Yeah, and not even in good areas, not nice like. I remember just a couple years ago, like that's what luxury apartments were going for. So.
Yeah. And the amount that they're building those is just such an insanely high rate.
They're going up everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah. Every time I drive around, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was gone now. Like Joe Morley's. I knew that was coming for a while, but that's also by the light rail system. And we've talked on the show before about, how there's transit-driven development, like public transit-driven development.
All the way downtown. All the way to downtown.
Yeah.
It's all along there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess it's like then you're playing that waiting game. You just have to wait for things to go back down.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing right now, just stashing back money every day and keep looking. And I keep telling her, the wife, just, be patient. We don't have to jump into anything right away. And, and I know she's getting really impatient, but we have to have that talk every couple of weeks. And then she calms down for a couple of weeks, and then she's like, oh, look at this place. This will be perfect for us. And I'm like, that's in like one of the worst parts of Salt Lake. Like, no, we're not moving there.
Yeah. You know what? You'll have to send your praises to the whale and make sure that it allows you to receive the right house at the right time.
All
It'll
hail
happen.
the whale.
You are a fan of Reddit too, and I know that you've been on like the Salt Lake subreddit and stuff. That's where the whale thing comes from. For those listeners that don't know, there's a whale statue in Salt Lake, and it's, created quite the following on at least Reddit, and I think that's starting to spread a little bit. They say, well, praise the whale for a snowpack. I mean, thanks, because, all of our parks are flooding. The flooding is really starting to happen now. I've got a friend that lives up Little Cottonwood Canyon. He works for the resort up there, and he tried to come down the canyon. There's just a giant mudslide, across the whole road.
Yeah,
It's
that was
insane.
crazy pictures.
You and I went I think we talked about it on the last show that we went to Mount Pleasant. We drove through some of the flood water stuff.
Yeah,
you can't
just
even
beginning.
you can't even drive on that road anymore.
That's crazy.
You know?
I saw the pictures. It's like we beat it by a week.
Has your house flooded?
No,
No.
not
All
at
right.
all. Our house is gravy.
I want to talk about the Salt Lake subreddit a little bit because I think it's kind of interesting how the things that go across there, you know,
Yes.
like the Reddit community is very particular about like bringing the same thing up over and over again, like the
Yeah.
whale. Right now, I think there was something we talked about before the show that I was getting after, but I don't remember anymore. So I guess I'm scrolling the Reddit right now at the same
Yeah.
time. So.
I don't read it, so I don't.
I know the housing stuff gets brought up a lot on there of
Yeah.
like the going rates of apartments right now, or like what people are doing. People even renting out the basements of their houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're charging insane amounts of money. Like I've watched people get super flamed up on the
Yeah.
Reddit posts, and everybody attacks them, and they're like, "Dude, you're a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
you're essentially asking for more than your mortgage." One person in particular that I remember, they were going to rent their basement out, and it was like a 400 and some odd square foot area, no living room, no common space. It was, I think, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and like kind of a little kitchen area. But they were wanting like, I don't remember, it was probably close to $2,000 or something.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, this will be great for a small family or something. We
Yeah.
can rent it out." So if
400
anybody's
square feet.
if anybody's looking, around for a place, this will be great for college students or anything like that. And Reddit went ballistic on them.
Yeah, 400
just
square
tore
feet.
them
yeah.
apart. They're like, "Dude, you're totally banking off of this and paying your mortgage plus some. Like, there's no way." And
Yeah.
Taking advantage of people.
Oh yeah,
100%.
for sure.
I think some of those like things that I've seen pop up too on that subreddit are things that would normally be like a Craigslist ad. Like I've got a room that I want to rent, or a KSL classifies like I'm renting a room, but they're actually listing it as like a rental thing. Like I'm this is for a family. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I've had enough roommates that it's like I don't know if I want to. It's not worth the money.
Do
you know?
people actually still do that on Craigslist? Because I feel like that's like Craigslist is just a creep show.
I think I
I've
don't.
thought that forever.
Yeah.
I met a guy once who was like, "Yeah, I'm in town. I'm going to be here for like a year, maybe 2 years." And so I just went on Craigslist and found these people to rent with, But then there's always the drama of doing that with people,
Yeah.
because everybody lives differently. And when you live in a situation like that, it's almost like a hostel where you just go stay with a bunch of people you don't know in a common area.
See, that shit sounds sketchy to me
It
too.
sounds-
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I could ever do that. And I've heard stories of people who have done that. And they're like, "Dude, it's
Yeah.
the best thing ever." Like, you meet these cool people, and it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I don't even
like
know if I'd be
people
able to
enough.
fall asleep. You know what I mean?
There's actually a hostel down the street from my shop off in like a little industrial area.
Yeah.
And it's like an old church that was converted into a hostel. And every day that I drive by, there's just a bunch of hipster looking people out there playing hacky sack all day.
Yeah, maybe that's what it's
Yeah,
about.
so I don't know. Maybe it's cool.
Yeah, maybe if you guys live hacky sack, check out a
Yeah.
hostel. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I haven't played hacky sack in a long time.
Me either.
When's the last
I'm
time
not-
you think you played hacky
Oh
sack?
God, probably 10 years ago, maybe.
We should get a
I'm
hacky
not coordinated enough for hacky
Yeah,
sack.
I'm down for it.
sack. Yeah, I don't know. We might get hurt.
I know I would.
I mean, we're getting older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frisbee.
Okay, ultimate frisbee.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
I'd settle for regular frisbee.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, just toss
I'm
it around
not.
the
I'm not
park.
an overachiever.
Did you guys hear about the news that came out? I think it was just the other day that a guy drove from Long Beach up here and shot his brother and then tried to burn his house down.
No.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Where?
Oh no, I did.
He-
There's video released of this, right?
Yeah, and then he got
Nice.
he got killed by the police, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
His own brother?
yeah, so he drove from Long Beach. Let me see if this will bring up the actual article here. Long Beach man drives to Utah to kill brother, set fire to his home before dying in police shootout.
Yeah.
His brother lived in Ogden.
That
let's see.
explains it.
He showed up to their door around like 7:00. In the video, they've got a Ring doorbell, so it shows him coming up to the door. He knocks on the door and then shoots his brother right away. And then I think his wife got shot as well. But then once he shot them, he went back to his car, got a shotgun and flares to set the house on fire. And then by the time he came back out the door, the cops were already there because I think the neighbors had called hearing gunshots and stuff. So
What the hell? Why? Does it say why?
it's happened so recently that they don't really know.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
probably don't know a motive yet.
Yeah. He had found to be in possession of a 9mm pistol with 23 loaded magazines. A 12-gauge shotgun was also recovered at the scene, along with 150 shells in a bag tied to his waist. He was shot several times and died at the scene. But they've got an overview, like a helicopter view of the house, and the roof is all collapsed, so he definitely caught the house on fire. I guess the wife's in the hospital now, but
Wow.
it's kind of weird when I see news stories like this, because it when I was young, I never saw shit like this, you know, and it's weird that we kind of are growing into that big city now. You know, like we have big city. We're starting to get big city problems, which is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Well, rage. We were talking about this earlier. Road rage.
Yeah. I think there's road rage incidents all the time in the news now.
And Utah is the number one state in the United States with the most road rage.
Yeah, with the most road rage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sucks to only have that one for I-15 and 215, the one belt loop. I guess we got the mountain corridor now, but
True.
that doesn't really connect to anything, like anything in the valley here. It's just kind of like the west end to go back and forth. You know, it's weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Growing up more out west, there was the things that are happening here a little bit more progressively were just daily, multiple times a day occurrences, and out here it was just so seldom or random.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, now it's becoming more habitual.
Well, sometimes I wonder if it's just because we have more access to social media and the ability to capture that stuff where maybe it wasn't captured.
I could see that. And then also just, you know, people just having access to, like you said, their phone and the news all the time.
Yeah.
Because before phones and everything, you'd actually have to like make a decision to go watch the news. You know, and now we've got things pushed to us through our phone, you know, and if you leave all the notifications on, you get pushed to everything that you subscribe to, you know, and it can make you lean one way or another.
It totally makes sense. I don't know. I do think the city is becoming worse as far as crime, for sure. When I first moved here, it was unheard of where I grew up that like people leave their doors unlocked at night. Like nobody locks their deadbolt. And I'm like, we grew up with bars on the windows and like bars on the front door, and you know, you got 3 deadbolts going and stuff like that. So it was definitely different out here. But what was it? Did you
ever have any childhood stories of some crazy shit that happened?
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Because you grew up near Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, in the heart of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas to be exact, for most of my time out there till I hit into junior high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man,
nobody ever tried to break into your house though, was it, or anything?
Oh no, that stuff would happen constantly.
Oh really?
Me and my mom living in seedy, weird little places, just like pretty much crack dens of like apartments and stuff. Nothing but druggies around us, and people trying to break in through back windows and stuff like that, or like 3 a.m. just beating on your door because they're cracked out of their mind and don't know what the hell.
It was
the wrong place.
Driving back from Vegas one time. No, true story. Got lost getting to the freeway.
Yeah.
Took some wrong turns. Broad daylight. Wound up in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't a safe neighborhood, but we had to pull over to let a SWAT truck go by that had guys hanging off of it with these weapons, and I was like, "Oh fuck, we got to turn around."
Like, this is sweet.
So. When I was in elementary school, the neighborhood that we lived in was a huge gang neighborhood. It was mostly known for Diana Street Crips, and cops would not come in this neighborhood if it was after dark whatsoever. You couldn't even get a pizza delivered during the daytime.
Holy
you know,
shit.
KFC for some reason had no problem delivering, so that was cool, I guess. But yeah, all kinds of crazy shit happening in that neighborhood. I remember being in like 1st, 2nd grade, getting off the school bus and having dudes flash their guns at us all the time and stuff. And actually, I do have a pretty crazy story about living there from my childhood.
Are you willing to share it?
Yeah. So this is wild. My mom used to work in the office for what essentially was an escort agency. She was the office lady, right? Worked there for years. She had a coworker, this man who had an abusive relationship with his wife, his stepdaughter. The mother was on drugs, very abusive towards both of them, and he's like, screw this, I'm taking my stepdaughter, we're going to get out of here. Kind of disappeared from the mom. And my mom ended up letting them stay at our house, right? And all of a sudden, the mother flipped out because she couldn't find her daughter, couldn't find her husband. Called the authorities, said that he kidnapped her and that he molests her and like all this crazy shit, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, middle of the night, I'm sleeping. I want to say I'm in like 2nd or 3rd grade when this happened. FBI busted through our door.
Holy shit.
This shit ended up on America's Most Wanted.
Wow.
No kidding.
America's Most Wanted. So John Walsh's brother was at our house and they were filming an episode like live busting in. I mean, it was pre-recorded for, you know, a later episode or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like the sound of people busting in and I'm like in bed waking up and I mean,
How terrifying.
yeah,
that is
you know,
terrifying.
like my mom and her boyfriend at the time, they were like pretty fucked up on drugs and shit. But yeah, cops busting in my room with, you know,
Jesus.
semi-automatics and flashlights and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, oh, there's a little kid in here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then my mom comes in the room and they're like, oh, they're taking so-and-so and the daughter and blah, blah, blah. And I remember the feds having this girl, like, dragging her out of the house and she's kicking, screaming, fighting, like, hitting these dudes in the face.
Holy shit.
Dude's got, like, guns on my dogs and everything. They're like, get this fucking moat out of here. We're going to shoot it.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, that was a wild, wild night.
Did that, if you don't mind me asking, did it have a lasting effect? Like, did you ever go back to that and be like, what the fuck? Did it affect you?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
who knows, like, what really affects us deeply and
Sure.
psychologically.
Yeah. Sure.
I don't think I have any kind of PTSD. I live through shit like that all the time, though.
Yeah.
And, like,
Yeah.
I just thought that's how everybody grew up.
So
you
it was
know?
like the normal to you.
Yeah. To me, that was
Yeah.
normal. Yeah, I remember going to the bus stop the next day to go to school, and everybody's like, yo, daddy got arrested, like, making fun of me and shit. And I was like, dude, that wasn't my, like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, that was my dad. You got it. Yeah.
Some other guy. I don't even know him.
That's insane that, you know, that it's kind of like really eye-opening because obviously we're older now. You understand that
Yeah,
everybody grows
yeah.
up different, but that's crazy as a kid to just think that's the normal.
The normal. That's
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Growing up in Vegas, I thought that's
Yeah.
how everybody lived.
Vegas,
I thought that's how people grew up. I thought crackheads and tweakers were just fucked up people, and like it was a normal thing.
we're in
Yeah.
every neighborhood.
Yeah.
Vegas is a rough place to grow up in, you know, because of just the nature of Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you start fucking around with people's money and then shit goes, and then you lose everything in Vegas and then you go crazy. There's tons of ways that people are in a bad spot.
The thing that's crazy out there is I don't know how people still live there and have a normal functioning life because you can't trust anybody out there. Like everybody's trying to come up on you. Everybody's trying to pull some kind of scam or rob you, or like even your best friends, man, those will be the first people to fuck you over and rob you blind. And it's insane. And I didn't realize how fucked up that place is until I moved away and I came to Salt Lake and I'm like, man, this place is quiet. And then like I said, like
no noise.
people not locking their doors at night, and I'm like, yo, bro, like no,
like I'm not sleeping in here unless that shit's locked.
we don't even have neighborhoods out here where you have to like watch your back where you're walking or like what color you're wearing and what neighborhood and shit like that. So I do laugh when people are like, oh yeah, the hood, like Glendale, Rose Park. Yeah, we got shitty things that happen out here all over the valley, you know, but we do not have any sort of projects out here or any kind of ghetto. So
I think that like Utah's done a really good job at holding that together. At least you know every city is going to have like their problems, right? And I think we have our
drugs,
fair share.
crime,
most definitely.
Yeah, it's going to happen no matter what. But Utah definitely, like I've been to Rose Park, and you know, a number of times I've known friends out there. I've never felt like I couldn't drive through there. There's places where I'm like, I don't think I would hang out at that place, you know. But I'm not gonna. I would feel okay walking around.
Yeah,
you know? And I think that's been a big misconception is Rose Park or like Ogden, you know, going up to Ogden, that like the whole town is pretty rough, but for the most part, like it's not anything compared to a city like LA.
No,
or places of New York.
And it doesn't really even have to be a place like that to have a random act of
that's true. We see
weirdness happen.
A lot of that here, you know, especially is like we've got the area where everybody assumes they're a problem, and then something really horrible happens in like Draper or whatever.
It never happens here. We've known him all of our life.
Sure.
Super nice guy.
Do you guys remember a couple of months ago the incident that happened in the really, really small town, like kind of in the middle of nowhere in southern Utah, where the man
I think I remember
killed his entire family?
Yeah.
I think his wife was leaving him, and like they lived in a super tiny town, and he ended up killing his wife, his mother-in-law, and all of his children.
Yeah.
I think he had 5 or more children. I don't remember.
Was he the one too that tried like blowing blowing the house up afterwards or something?
No,
that
that was oh shit, what's his name? No, that was out in West Valley. That was here.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
What the hell? Steven.
I don't remember.
Is he the one that they never found his wife? And
Yeah.
he
They
killed
suspect
his
that
kids?
he dumped her in a mine shaft or something,
Powell?
probably out
Yeah.
in.
Powell.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Powell, Susan Powell,
Susan
and
Powell.
Stephen Powell.
Stephen Powell.
Yeah, that I read the book about, or one of the books about that whole incident, and it was kind of weird to like read it and know exactly what neighborhood they're talking about, and what side of town and everything, and then even where they suspect of dumping her body.
Yeah, and there's a guy on YouTube that's from here, Heavy D Sparks. He's like he owns the Black Hawk helicopter now in Utah, which is crazy to think. But he would go out and do these videos where they will go down in mine shafts that they suspect that he would have dumped the body in, and just to check,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that whole story was just wacky from beginning to end. I mean, with his father being involved, and that guy went to jail for like child pornography or something. And
yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
there's creeps everywhere.
yeah, there
Oh,
is.
yeah. Yep.
We're at the point now where we need to take a break, so we will be right back. More with Yams Pinkle. And we're back. This is Weekly InSalt, episode 269 with Yams Pinkle.
Yams.
What up, man?
What up?
Man, it feels like that break was really long.
It did feel like
It
it.
was.
Sometimes that happens. Not long to you guys, the listener, but to all of y'all, the listeners. But yeah, there was a lot going on this weekend, and that's what happens. We got to take some time to take care of personal business too.
Absolutely. Got to stand outside dreaming about barbecue.
Yeah. One thing that we couldn't do while we were on break is look at any pornography.
True. Can't do that in Utah.
So we're gonna do a group trip to Wyoming to go jerk off.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to do that too. You know how they have the fun bus to Nevada? It just got a lot more fun.
Yep.
So yeah, that whole thing happened. I think what was it last week?
I feel like it was like Monday or something when I read the news,
so
and
when this comes out like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, the state of Utah has passed some legislation where they want more strict age verification on things, and I think the main picture going around the internet is that splash page on Pornhub.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like the very top molecule of the iceberg.
Oh, yeah, because by blocking one website, people just go to worse places to get it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing is Utah didn't block their website. They blocked Utah as well as a few other sites because they don't want to
That's true.
get people's personal information, like their government ID and stuff like that. And people keep talking about it being a First Amendment right, but I see it being a Fourth Amendment right.
Yeah.
Your right to privacy. Now, there are already so many things out there for technology, right? Like for parents to monitor what their kids look at and what they can't look at. We've had this stuff for years.
Yeah, I think I've heard of like the parenting controls with like Xfinity and stuff. You can get notified via text message on your phone if your kid at home looks up a porn website or adult content. Anybody
on your Wi-Fi system, like whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think part of this problem, all right, so this is just my opinion, but we live in Utah. I think it's, the legislation or what have you. They're pushing their morals on other people now.
Yeah.
This is such a weird state to live in because there is no separation of church and state, no matter how much they want to say.
Yeah.
And they'll go on the news when people get fired up about it, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, no, there's totally separation of church and state.
Yeah.
And then they'll go and pass some bullshit law, and they'll be like, well, we all prayed on it, and this is what God would want us to do. And I'm just like, what the fuck, bro? Like,
and you can take the side of the porn sites too, that they don't want to have personal information of the people who visit their site.
Yes,
that adds a whole nother layer. Like working in software development for myself, it's like that adds a whole nother level of security shit that you have to have a government you have to meet a government standard for, because now you're dealing with personal information.
Yep.
And if you get hacked, you're in deep shit.
And one of the things is, it's not that you sign up, you show your ID once, it's every single time you access that site. They want a picture of your face of you logging in, as well as a copy of your government ID.
So it's kind of creepy.
So yeah, Pornhub came out, they made their statement, something to the effect of they don't want to do this to for the security of their customers and stuff like that, and it's just a legal mess. So they just made the choice to block Utah.
Yeah,
block Utah.
I noticed that VPNs were the #1 trending search across the United States in just Utah.
Yeah. Private VPN.
I'm pretty sure last Monday Pornhub got 20% of their bandwidth back.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people who might be listening that don't know what a VPN is, that basically takes your internet connection from, say, your phone or your computer, and you can pick wherever you want to appear like you're coming from. So you could say somewhere in Europe, or you could say anywhere in the world. It just makes you look like you're in a different location.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take a moment for our sponsor, NordVPN.
Just kidding. Not a sponsor yet, but you heard it, Nord. This would have been a perfect episode for you to sponsor.
So is Utah the only one that is doing this?
Yeah, so far.
I'm still trying to figure out how that site blocked the entire state. I mean, they'd have to go through every ISP and figure out their IP ranges and block specifically those IP ranges.
Well, I mean, they've already had something implemented before, because I know when you visit the website, it straight up says you live in Utah.
Yeah, they know that based off of the IP address that it's coming from.
Yeah.
They probably did do that. You can probably reach out to like a carrier or something and say, hey, I want all of the IP ranges in Utah.
Yeah.
I mean, because your location isn't necessarily based on. There's other things too, like your phones, like websites can request where you're at, like your location and stuff. So maybe it uses that too. Because I know whenever you pull up like Google Maps, it always marks right where you are.
Oh yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, they got it from there's a place called ARIN. It's AIARIN. It's the American Registry for Internet Numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
and they probably went there and said, "What are all the ranges in Utah?"
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and really, like, they only have to do so much.
Because you can't gamble online either. I mean, back in the day, you could go log into a bingo site, but then pretty soon that got restricted too.
You still can, and then you're getting into VPNs again, because
Right.
I mean, use that's why places like NordVPN, not a sponsor, they advertise like you can get different shows on Netflix if you say you're from Canada, and which is crazy to me that a VPN's marketing strategy could be, hey, pretend that you're in Canada so you can watch this show, even though the Netflix, the business, doesn't want to allow you to watch the show if you're in the United States or something. Like, it's just kind of like an accepted fact now that VPNs, and think of the kids that are growing up with this stuff.
It's the internet loophole.
Yeah. And then let's not even talk about the dark web. I mean, the dark web's a whole different side.
Dark web. It's so dark.
How dark is it?
Dark, and how can you see the dark web if you don't have a flashlight? But yeah, there's all sorts of things that happen on the internet, like on a daily basis, that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, I don't really care. I'm not a porn guy myself, but I do think it's bullshit that grown adults have to lie about what they're doing, at least on the internet. Like, essentially, that's what you're doing if you're getting a VPN. Yeah, I number one, lazy parenting. I think that's like the biggest issue is. People don't want to monitor their kids and monitor their screen time and whatnot. When we have all these tools that they can implement, and I really don't get the argument that we're doing this for the children, so the children don't have access to porn. Like, no, bullshit. You're trying to push your morals on everybody. They've been doing it for years with alcohol laws and whatnot, or even the medical marijuana. The first time that thing passed, passed huge, and the government was like, "Oh yeah, just kidding. Nope, overturned it."
Yeah.
They did the same thing with gay marriage. They passed it and then let it go for a while, let people get married, and then they overturned it again. Yeah. And then brought it back again. Yeah.
I think that's the constant struggle, is that, like, and I think a lot of people were really enraged by the fact that it's like, a lot of people like to pull that card that we live in America, the land of the free. We should be able to do freely whatever we want, you know, like within reason.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason, of course.
Don't hurt anybody.
That's why there's laws against that type of thing, But then when you start like inching into people's personal lives and stuff, you can make an argument that, somebody who maybe has a really bad porn addiction might like think that they can go act on that, because there's been a lot of like abductions and stuff of people that have had really terrible porn problems, you know? So maybe there's just a line there, but I mean, it's one of those things that people are going to find anyway, and they might just go somewhere. It's like making more gun laws isn't going to stop the bad people from getting guns. No, you'll find it if you want it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Look at the war on drugs, how well that worked, We still have drugs. Yeah. Thankfully. No, we live in a wacky time in America where it's not the same kind of laws, but it's a similar situation where in other states they are pushing these laws to, I guess, push their morals, their moral outlooks.
Yeah.
Like what's going on in Tennessee with them banning drag shows.
I haven't heard about that.
I haven't heard about that either.
Yeah, they made that illegal. I can't remember there was a pop performer that performed there. Maybe it was Lizzo, I believe. She performed there recently and had drag performers on stage just as a fuck you to Tennessee.
Oh shit.
Florida's going all in on this shit. They're trying to make anybody who performs drag a sex offender, and
that seems like a fucking jump.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
Well, they're also trying to make put sex offenders on death row, right? They're trying to make it punishable by death.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, fuck those guys, but I can see the chain of what they're doing. They're trying to make it so people that perform in drag are sex offenders, and then that they can kill them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's everything's always a culture war, but like right now, I don't know why drag performers are on the forefront of this.
Why are they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like all these neo-Nazi groups going to these things. Drag story time, that's a big thing right now, right? Like you have all these drag performers dressed up. They look like princesses, the little kids, you know, and everything that I've seen of these drag story times, they're all like pretty modestly dressed. They're in big gowns and stuff like that. It's nothing too risque. And then we got neo-Nazis in there carrying guns and assault rifles and you know, threatening people, and a lot of hate speech going on with that. But so with the Florida thing, they also, what was it? They just, I believe the law passed that if they find out that a minor that is transgender is living with their, basically, long story short, they can, the state can take away the children for being transgender, and the parents supporting their decision.
What the hell?
I mean, it is Florida, right?
Yeah.
Like, we got to remember that.
Florida's going crazy right now. Like, that DeSantis dude is out of his mind, like, with all these fucking laws that they're passing. And it's a huge red state. It's MAGA country, right? Like, all these people are super Trump supporters down there. And he's going to war with Disney World and shit down there.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Which
super
is a huge part of their tourism.
Oh,
you know? Like,
huge.
Yeah, huge.
I got a buddy that lives right outside of Miami right now, and he's living in the midst of this shit.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing is like like we all are all struggling in our normal daily lives with the cost of everything going up. Yeah. The stress of life, you know, and wages definitely aren't keeping up with that. And then on top of that, we've got all these bills being passed that are being more restrictive and all this other shit going on. It's like no wonder people get really stressed out.
It's going to be an
do
uprising.
Crazy shit. Yeah, and I really hope that I don't have to be alive for that.
Me too.
You know, I hope that doesn't happen in my lifetime.
Yeah, nothing that I've seen in the last handful of years, like nothing's being passed for the people. It's always against the people. Yeah. And right now, ever since Trump came into office, now it's okay to be openly racist and openly homophobic, and everything right now is a culture war. It's we're not the human race. It's everybody against everybody at this point.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of that, and I think a lot of social media has an effect on that too, because you know you see like these people that are like, I think there's this new famous guy going around on TikTok or something that all he does is see people in really expensive cars and stops them and asks what they do, you know, and they say, oh, you know, he says like driving a $2 million car or whatever. What do you do for work? They're like, oh, I own 2 businesses. Well, did you go to school? No. You know, you just have enough drive to do it. And so I think people look at that and they're like, well, I want to be that.
Yeah.
And then the reality is like that happens to very, very few people.
Yeah.
And most of us have to work really, really hard.
Yeah.
To get like even just a mediocre life. Sometimes,
So
you know?
what are those laws trying to solve, man? And do they even know that it won't?
Yeah, no, they're just trying to push their own. At a point, it becomes like this genocidal agenda. It's insane. Like, oh man,
I think a lot of it is like what you said with parenting. I think these days a lot of people are like when I was raised, you know, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have things like that. Like if I got caught like looking at a porno mag or something, like I would get my ass beat.
Back in the analog days.
Yeah, back in the old analog days.
Or you get that phone bill and there's 500, 900 calls.
Yeah. You know,
That happened.
and like you would get disciplined by your parents. And I think today's age, a lot of parents are very busy, you know, trying to keep up with the current economy and support their family. And so it kind of turns into this, well, maybe we can have the state police for us in a way, but I don't know
Do your
I don't
job
know
as a parent.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's necessarily busy. I think it's lazy.
Okay.
Because I watch so many parents, just in the general public, or people will bring their kids to our shop and we're like, hey, like, we don't let kids in the back, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then they try to leave them out in the lobby and I'm like, no, watch your damn kid. Like, find a babysitter, whatever. But the biggest thing that I see, like, whether it's at my place of business or it's out at a restaurant or anything, the parents just hand the kid a phone or an iPad and ignore the shit out of them. They're like, entertain yourself, because I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and that generally is what happens. You see it at restaurants, you know, if they got kids there, it's like, give them the iPad.
Keep them quiet.
Yeah, there's one little spazzy shit in the corner and another one just glued to his iPad watching, you know, Paw Patrol or something. And
yeah, it's getting more common these days too, just with phones, you know, and that's why I love that the weather's warming up.
Me too.
I love that we're in thunderstorm season because there's an end to, like, I think a lot of times in wintertime I coop myself up just because it's cold and it's gray and, you know, I used to snowboard, I don't anymore, but I can't wait to get back outside and like get
off
further away from my phone.
Yeah, off hook.
Yeah, just go enjoy the planet, you know, and honestly to get away from people. I mean, I am a people person, but even I have my limit, you know, and you guys have seen that before. I've showed up to like the bar and I'm like, you're like, is everything okay? Yeah, I just had a lot of people stuff today, so I kind of just don't really feel like talking.
I don't want to talk to people.
That is why I do love our bar, though. It's one of those places that, like, if I've had one of those days, especially at work, dealing with a bunch of shitheads, if I want to be left the fuck alone, I can go sit and be left the fuck alone and read the news on my phone. But if I want to be social, I hang out with you guys, and and
I think that's an awesome thing to have. Kurt, you've been quiet over there.
Yeah,
okay,
just a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think usually I go camping a lot in the summertime.
Yeah.
You know, but I think I'm going to do more road trips this year because I kind of get in this new like day trip fever thing.
I was going to say we should do another couple of day trips and just go visit some small towns.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really
small town people.
Cool history.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that was actually a different idea I had where I was like, dude, it might be cool to go to random small towns to a dive bar and just listen to people.
Yeah, most definitely. So like playing music on the road, I have the travel bug super hard. It's always been in me. Every time we go on a trip somewhere, I'm like, I'm driving. I want to drive. Like, I've drove back and forth from San Diego multiple times and stuff like that from here over the last couple of years. Vegas, of course, I go back there and all the time. But I kind of want to drive to Washington in August. NoFX is breaking up. They're one of my all-time favorite bands, one of the biggest musical influences on me. They are playing, 40 cities, 40 dates. I think they're playing 2 albums in their entirety for each city. And then a whole normal set as well. Some of the dates are 2 days long. There is camping involved. So cool. It's basically the Pumpkin Drublick Festival again. Now, I went to that the last time it was in Idaho, before NoFX got banned from playing in the U.S.
You said what? Laura had a look on her face, but you said what we thought you said, right? What's the name of the festival again?
Pumpkin Drublick.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't hear that, but...
Oh, I thought that's what you were making eyebrows for.
I thought you said drunk in public.
No, Pumpkin Drublick. Maybe you're drunk in public.
No, never.
Yeah, it's the name of one of their albums from early to mid 90s, but they got this festival. They teamed up with some craft beer companies and they did some shows in LA. I don't remember if they did Colorado or not, but they did Boise, Idaho, right? Just kind of random.
Yeah.
But we, me, the wife, and a bunch of friends road tripped up there, up north, and free beer from noon to 4.
Oh shit!
Free beer. Now they're these small goblets. I think they were like 4 or 5 ounces.
Yeah.
But you're standing there drinking 11 to 15% beer. I caught a buzz in 20 minutes flat.
Beer shots.
Like more than a buzz. Like I was getting pretty fucking toasty, and we figured out that you didn't have to wait in line for these like little beer sample things. You could just stand there, pound that, and hand it back to them, and they'll refill it, and then you pound it again, and they refill it. So
you had a great time, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. So now they're they're allowed to play in the U.S. again. This is their final tour. They're all retiring. They're all pushing 60 at this point. Fat Mike just moved to Vegas. He opened up the Punk Rock Museum, which looks fucking cool. If you haven't seen that, go check it out.
Yeah.
You can go online and book I believe you can book, but I know you can look and see who is offering tours. They just had Warren from the Vandals in there offering tours, so he goes around. You look at all this these crazy things, people's clothes, people's instruments.
Oh, I heard of this place.
Yeah, it just barely opened. I believe it's like $30 to get in,
That's
but like
worth it,
huge punk rock history. So Fat Mike, I believe this is mostly his baby project, but I know he's had quite a bit of help.
That's cool that they're involving people from that community to like show you around. That makes it even more of an event. Dude.
It's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the dudes from NoFX offering tours as well. But you can go and look at their schedule and see what musician is going to be there for what week and offering tours. So if you want to, meet one of your favorite guitarists or drummers or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's so cool that they're preserving this history, right?
Yeah.
And he's hit up so many bands worldwide, so he's trying to put in as much stuff, and he's actually surprisingly not being a gatekeeper of punk rock. They're including in other band. Good Charlotte got put in there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. He's
so
like,
more turning into like a rock and roll hall of fame, but for like punk.
Sort of. Yeah. Most definitely. Cool. I mean, he even tried to involve Paramore a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like, we all started out as a punk band, everybody, in this scene. So who cares what you evolved into, but you were a punk band at one point in time, and I think that's why he put bands like Good Charlotte in there. He's like, you grew up the same as us. I
think that's cool too, to just like use that as a platform to, just appreciate like everything that because we grew up with that, like punk and then what evolved into like screamo and hardcore and all that stuff is like that was what I grew up with, and it like I still go back and listen to all that shit. And it's nostalgic. It'd be cool to go in there and see some of the like the relics of that time and be talked to by somebody who lived through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And just retain the history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's a place to have
Vegas is a great place to do that, too, because there's been tons of shows in Vegas, of all kinds. And it's just an easy place to go see.
Yeah.
At least for us.
Vegas was, like, very underrated as far as, like, the punk rock scene goes for a long time, but so many legendary shows took place there. A lot of legendary bands came out of there.
Did you go to a lot of shows when you were growing up in Vegas?
Oh, yeah. Backyard shows was, like, just a normal thing, because, I mean, it's Vegas. It feels like summer year-round.
Yeah.
But, yeah, lots of backyard shows. I think when I was in high school was when the skate punk, I don't want to say it was dying out, but it was toning down, and then like AFI was getting huge, so we had like hardcore coming up, and then we all grew up with this really, really legendary hardcore band called Curl Up and Die.
Yeah.
We were separated by our... We all went to different high schools, but our high schools were separated by like one street line of our neighborhood. So they lived on one side of the neighborhood. We lived out on the other. But going to all these backyard shows, playing these backyard shows with these guys, and just getting insane and trashing stuff and getting punched in the nose and whatnot.
Is that kind of what got you into music to begin with anyway? Is like doing those backyard shows and stuff?
No. So... what really, I've always had an interest in music since I was a little kid, super little, and then I was just kind of randomly gifted a guitar that happened to be left-handed since I'm left-handed.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got this old Japanese Fender Stratocaster.
Still remember it to this day.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Do you still have it?
No.
Oh, shit.
No, it got smashed up.
One of those sick-ass shows, you're like, I'm just going to smash some shit.
Yeah. So when I was about 10, I started noodling around trying to teach myself how to play. And then I think by the time I was like 12 or 13, I made a friend that was a few years older than me that could play guitar pretty well. And he just kind of set me down that path, and then started figuring out like Nirvana songs and Metallica songs and Green Day, and kind of went from there. And then once I was in the end of junior high, beginning of high school, I was already in a band, and that was just like what we loved to do. Me and a kid lived one street apart, and we were both super into punk rock. He was obsessed with Green Day and MXPX, so like he wanted to sound like that, and I liked other bands like Propaganda and NoFX. And I wanted to sound like that, so we always just jammed together, played guitar, and then like formed little bands here and there, and it was always like a different band, every couple of months. And
that's cool.
New members.
And then you actually went on the road with bands before and stuff. Yeah, you've played some pretty big shows.
Yeah, definitely. So we've been all over the U.S. So.
Nice.
Yeah, he's like, that's where I'm ending that. I don't need you to know anything else about that.
That's what that
I'm
sounded
like, well, let me bust out my list.
We kind of, I think in the previous episode with you, 100 episodes ago, we talked a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, you sing vocals. You're a singer, which is something that I've definitely never been good at.
Yeah, I'm not good at it either.
But
did you take like singing lessons and stuff?
No, not at all. No,
Yeah.
I've never taken lessons for anything whatsoever. I've just jammed with friends. I was still playing guitar and singing, and when I moved out here and trying to start a band, and I guess I just started getting good at doing the screaming. So everybody's like, dude, you should try and do lead vocals. And I did, and I sold all my guitar equipment. But now I'm getting all that shit back, and now that I'm approaching 40, I just want to do something that's going to make me mentally happy and healthy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm going to relive my teenage punk rock years again.
I could almost envision a young you with a guitar.
Yeah.
There's got to be some pictures, dude. I'd love to see those.
I've got some old band photos on my phone from when I first moved here. But other than that, I definitely don't have anything from like high school and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it was just too soon for the digital era.
Yeah. I have a few still pictures that are actually printed pictures, like developed from Walmart or whatever. But they're hard to hold on to.
So are they actually in backyards?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So there was this girl that we went to high school with. She was known as like the little ska queen, right? And she was constantly throwing backyard shows.
I was just yawning, but that doesn't mean that I'm bored of your story.
No,
I'm just tired.
I know, it's okay. I am pretty boring. We all lived in the same neighborhood in Vegas, and she was just known as like this little scene queen and always throwing crazy little shows in her backyard. So used to go, and her parents were cool with it. Her parents would rent porta potties.
Really?
Yeah, just to make sure the kids had somewhere to piss and shit. Probably so all these dirty punk rock and hardcore kids weren't fucking up her bathroom.
Right.
But she dated all the band guys. She was one of those girls. And then we had this really cool, well-known. Sorry, I keep tapping that.
That's okay. I can't hear it.
Okay, cool. There was a venue in Las Vegas called the Huntridge Theater, and it's been around for, I don't even know how long. Probably 100 years at this point. Maybe a little bit less, but we grew up going to that place. I think that really inspired all of us to want to play music and want to be in bands. It was that place that you could show up. You don't have to know who's playing. You just want to hang out because your friends are hanging out. Oh, you don't have any money? Guess what? Everybody will spot you $1 because the show's only like $3 to get in or something. Seen AFI play there way before they were. I mean, they were huge back then, but we're talking like 1996, 1997. They weren't signed to what are they on, like Hollywood Records or DreamWorks or something. Way before they were big time. Watched a lot of crazy bands there. The Vandals, of course. Seen NoFX. I've got some pretty wild stories hanging out with the Vandals at that venue. Being 15 years old and getting drunk as shit with these guys. And
dude. I think maybe we'll get into some of those stories on episode 369.
Yeah, dude. 100 more episodes, 100 more weeks.
Dude, thanks for coming, spending your Sunday with us,
for sure.
Man. It's
thanks
cool.
for having me.
I always enjoy talking with you, and it's cool to just learn more about your history and stuff like that. So appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll be back with another one next week. But this has been your weekly insult. Thanks, man. We should have revealed that we're going to be in a band and that we're going to jam and stuff.
I thought about it, but people will find out about this place sucks.
I want to be in the band.
You can be in the band. You can.
What do I do?
Tambourine.
Oh, okay. I could probably do that.
Sell the merch.
Yeah, sell the merch.